BRUCAST is back, baby.
And these are the two topics I'm really passionate about, like mental health and Bitcoin, because mental health is quite an obvious one, right? I mean, everyone knows why it's important nowadays, at least in the Western world. Not everyone in the world, but at least most people in the Western world know. Destigmatizing it, but with Bitcoin, it's about financial enablement and also building a fairer economic system. I mean, most people don't realize that, okay, most people just don't have access to a banking system. So, for example, if you are a woman in Saudi Arabia, you cannot just go to the bank and open a bank account. Or if you are living somewhere in the rainforest, you cannot just open a bank account. So Bitcoin, in my opinion, is quite a bit about financial enablement, which is why I'm particularly interested in it. And yeah, sure, there are a lot of people who just are in it for the sake of making money, but those people just stick around for the ups and downs for a little bit, and then they get cold feet and they leave the game after making 20% wins or losses within a short period of time. But it's once you've understood it, you see how much it brings to humanity as a whole. But you have to delve into very many different topics in order to understand it. It's about economics, it's about cryptography, it's about politics, economic policy, and human psychology to some extent. So it takes a long time to understand as to why it is genius. And most people just delve in it for a couple of hours, which I did in the beginning also. But I mean, I realized it's brilliant once I've learned at least 150 hours about it, you know. So you really have to put in a lot of time, but it's worth it. It's fun. You learn a lot, and from a lot of different areas.
What makes you think that if there's someone living in the middle of the jungle, the rainforest, and they can't even open a bank account, what makes you think that they're gonna start a Bitcoin account?
Well, maybe first of all, maybe they don't need a bank account really, because maybe they are just farmers. This is one option. Maybe they have like an established system already. Like in Kenya, for example, they have something like this for like 10 years where you can just transfer money via SMS. It's crazy in Kenya. Yeah. I just learned that through a podcast guest on my Bitcoin podcast. He has a wife from Kenya, and they have a system there where you can just pay via SMS in cash. And this has been around for like 10-15 years. And it was just needed because central banking is just not such big of a topic there, you know. So apparently you need good internet to establish something like that. But the third case is, okay, if there is if you actually need money, and if you don't live somewhere like in Kenya, for example, where this is a third case where you actually get into Bitcoin because it's about anonymity. You know, the reason why a woman in Saudi Arabia, for example, cannot go to and open up a bank account, it's because she has to get permission from her husband, I suppose. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not an expert about Saudi banking in Saudi Arabia, and I apologize if I'm wrong on this. I'm just taking this as to state an example. So there are certain people who are like excluded from opening up a bank account, and therefore Bitcoin is easier because anyone can create a Bitcoin address, you know.
Yeah, but Leo, I think that's a bad example, because if the wife is not allowed to have a bank account, what makes you think that the husband would be okay with her having a Bitcoin account? I think it's the same thing. The husband would not be happy at all if that's the case in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's why I said maybe the example is like suboptimal. But in other areas it's like, okay, you don't have access to it just because maybe the next bank where you have to go physically is like 50 kilometers away or something, you know. And it's not like everyone is super experienced with computers, for example, you know.
Yeah.
So but it is possible to create it from anywhere, not being dependent upon others, you know. This is the point of it. And also you are not obliged to political influences. So if a system breaks down or they just allowed for a certain group of people, this is also where Bitcoin is independent from. So yeah, the example I stated in the beginning probably was not the best one. There are better ones to think of, just like, for example, if you get politically censored. If there's a right-wing politics in your country and they want to ban all the left wings, or the other way around, you know. And yeah,
what I think
this would be another case.
Yeah. What I think what is appealing about it is what you said. What you said is not centralized. So your money is not on bank A or bank B. It's Bitcoin. It doesn't belong to anyone. So I think for me that would be the most appealing side of having Bitcoin. But the thing is, I don't see Bitcoin being a normal thing, like on the masses, like everyone has a credit card. I don't see everyone having a Bitcoin account nowadays, because they don't need it. What I mean is they don't need it. You don't go to a coffee shop and it's more convenient to pay with Bitcoin. You don't go to the hairdresser and it's more you don't pay your electricity bill and it's more convenient to pay with Bitcoin, or more advantageous. So I think while that's not the case, Bitcoin would be just a niche. Would you agree with that?
Well, I certainly agree to the notion that it's probably not going to become a payment system necessarily, just because, okay, it was envisioned to be used for micropayments and stuff, but it's like, okay, sure, it is cheaper to be sending something in Bitcoin. For international transaction, it's way cheaper than sending it with Western Union, for example. And it's also highly traceable because in the blockchain everything is stored. So you are rather secure, and there have been cases where you have been able to bring back money. So coming back to your question, it's could you please restate it, because I lost my thought. There were too many possibilities opening up in my head.
No problem. So the question was, if you agree that Bitcoin will remain a niche until it becomes more convenient than a credit card or cash.
Yeah. Well, I think this depends upon how the